Tom stood quietly in the corner of the silver ship, looking at the giant planet floating outside the window, Zuria, a glowing world filled with forests, crystal mountains, and cities built in the sky. It was beautiful and dangerous. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was a diplomat. Earth had chosen him because he could stay calm. Even when others shouted, Tom had studied alien languages, customs, and how to solve problems without fights. Now, his mission was to bring peace between Earth and the Velari, the insect-like aliens who ruled Zuria. In the last few months, small battles had happened between human explorers and Velari scouts. Misunderstandings, mostly, but fear had grown. Earth was worried the Velari might think humans were invaders. The Velari were worried humans would take their land. Tom's job was to stop the war before it started. The ship landed softly in the capital city, Velm. The sky above was filled with flying crafts and glowing bridges. Velari citizens walked below, tall and elegant, with wings on their backs and eyes that shimmered like gold. As Tom stepped out, a group of guards waited. They were dressed in silver armor, and their wings were folded tightly. One of them stepped forward. Her voice was sharp but calm. "Human diplomat, follow us. The Queen is expecting you." Tom nodded and followed the guards. He had prepared for this meeting for weeks. He knew some of the Velari language and had memorized important greetings. He also carried a small peace token, a carved orb from Earth's moon. They entered the palace. It was unlike anything Tom had seen. The walls glowed with soft light. The floor felt like polished stone, but it shifted gently as he walked. Strange music played from hidden corners. Then, the doors to the throne room opened. Inside stood Queen Zarel. She was tall, at least 7 feet, with shining black armor along her limbs, and soft wings that spread like silk. Her crown looked like a part of her head, made of crystal and bone. Her eyes were sharp and golden, glowing slightly in the dim room. Tom took a deep breath. He stepped forward and bowed, just as he had practiced. "Great Queen Zarel," he said clearly, "I bring greetings from Earth. I come in peace." She watched him silently for a long moment. The guards didn't move. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of her wings shifting. "You speak well, human," she said at last. "You are calm. That is good." Tom slowly held out the moon orb. "A gift from my world to yours." She took it in one hand and turned it slowly. "Stone from your moon. You bring a piece of your sky to mine. Interesting." Tom smiled carefully. "Yes, a symbol of peace between our people." Zarel looked directly at him. "You wish for peace. You say your people do not want war. That you're coming here proves you wish to understand us." "Yes," Tom said. "I believe we can work together. No more fighting. No more fear." Suddenly, Zarel stepped down from her throne. Her wings opened wide behind her, glowing softly. She walked toward Tom with firm steps. The guards didn't stop her. Tom stood his ground, though his heart was beating fast. She stopped in front of him, very close. Then, in one swift move, she pushed him gently but firmly against the crystal wall. Her eyes narrowed. "You want peace, human." Tom's mouth went dry. "Yes," he said softly. "Then marry me," she said. He froze. Had he heard correctly? "Excuse me," he said, confused. Zarel did not smile. In Velari law, peace between rival powers is often sealed with a bond, a joining of leaders. You are your people's voice. I am mine, a symbolic union. It is tradition. Tom blinked. "You mean marriage?" "Yes, not as your people know it. Perhaps not love, not romance, trust. A bond, a promise, one that all can see." Tom could hardly believe what was happening. He had come to talk, maybe to sign papers, maybe share science or knowledge. He had not come expecting this. "You have one night to consider," she said calmly. "Refuse, and we may still find other ways. Accept, and peace will be stronger. Our worlds will be tied forever." She stepped back. The glow in the room returned to normal. Tom's legs were still stiff from shock. "I will think about it," he managed to say. "Good," said the Queen. "You may rest. Speak with my people." Learn what this bond means. Tomorrow, you will decide. The guards stepped forward again. One of them, a smaller Valari with blue eyes, gave Tom a polite nod. I will guide you to your quarters. Human, Tom followed, his mind spinning. Marriage? A union for peace? Could Earth accept this? Could he? As he walked through the strange halls of the palace, he knew one thing for sure. This mission had just become far more complicated. Tom sat on the soft surface of his guest room bed, still trying to understand what had just happened. The room was warm and round, with glowing walls and a window that looked out over the floating towers of Vellum. Alien birds flew through the air, singing tunes that made him feel both curious and strange. Queen Zarel had asked him to marry her. No, not exactly asked. She had commanded it. In her own royal way. Tom shook his head. Marry the queen. He whispered to himself, is this really how peace works here? A soft knock came from the wall. It wasn't a door. It simply slid open like liquid light. A tall, slim Valari entered. Her skin shimmered with shades of silver, and her wings were tucked politely behind her. Unlike the others, she didn't wear armor. She wore a robe that flowed like water. I am Brenna, she said gently. I am a culture guide. The queen asked me to help you understand our customs. Tom stood up. Thank you, Brenna. I really need that. She gave a nod. You are confused. That is normal. Many are confused when they first meet our queen. Tom gave a small laugh. That's one way to say it. I came to talk about peace instead. She offered marriage. To us, it is the same. Brenna said, sitting across from him. We Valari are a proud people. Our queen cannot show weakness. But she also cannot ignore her heart when it speaks of peace. The bond she offers is not simple. It is not for show. But why marriage? Tom asked. Humans talk, sign papers, make agreements. We don't join like that. Brenna looked thoughtful. To the Valari, trust is more than a word. It must be living, binding. A union proves to our people that your word is not just words. You are not just a visitor. You are willing to become part of our world. Tom frowned. But wouldn't the queen want someone from her own kind? The queen has chosen no one for many years, Brenna said. Some believe she would never choose. But you stood before her and asked for peace, not with fear, not with pride, but with honesty. She sees in you something rare. Tom sat down again. So, it's not about love. No, said Brenna. It is about unity, understanding. You do not have to love each other. You must only respect each other and work together. Tom looked out the window. The sun was setting on Zuria, and the sky was painted in purple and blue. A city of light floated in the distance, held up by soft beams of energy. I need time to think, he said softly. You have one night, Brenna replied. The queen is patient, but the people are watching. If you reject the offer, they may believe Earth does not wish for peace. Tom sighed. So I'm trapped now. Brenna said gently, you are being offered something rare. A chance to end fear between worlds. That is not a trap, it is a door. And only you can decide to walk through it. Later that night, Tom walked through the palace garden. The plants glowed faintly in the dark, and strange flying creatures buzzed past, leaving trails of light. It was peaceful. He needed peace right now. He thought about Earth, about the people waiting for his report. Would they understand? Would they think he had gone too far, or not far enough? He remembered his training. Diplomacy was not about comfort. It was about connection. A gentle voice interrupted his thoughts. Thinking again, human, Tom turned to see Queen Zarel walking quietly through the garden path. Her wings shimmered under the moonlight. She wore no crown now, just a simple robe made of star thread. Your Majesty, Tom said. Bowing slightly, no need for titles tonight, she said. We speak as to leaders now, not ruler and guest. Tom nodded. I've spoken with Brenna. She explained the meaning of your offer. Zarel looked at the glowing plants. I did not ask this lightly. I know it is not your way, but this is mine. Our people are close to anger. One mistake could turn talk into war. I will not let that happen. You could choose a Valari partner, Tom said. Someone your people already know and trust. She shook her head. That would only keep us in our world. I wish to reach beyond it. You came here, knowing it could be dangerous. You looked me in the eyes without fear. You are already part of our story. Tom took a deep breath. This would change everything. Zarel looked at him seriously. Yes, but it may save everything, too. They stood in silence for a long time. Then Tom said, "What happens if I say yes?" "There will be a formal announcement, a symbolic union. We call it the Bond of Stars. It will not bind you forever, but it will show both our peoples that we stand together. And if I say no?" Zarel looked at the sky. "Then I will try another way, but it may take time. And time is dangerous." Tom looked at the stars. They were different here, but beautiful. So many lights, so many unknowns. "I need until morning," he said. Zarel nodded. "Then I will wait." She turned and walked back into the palace. Tom stayed in the garden. The stars above watched silently. He had come to speak for peace. Now he had to decide how far he was willing to go for it. Tom woke early. The alien sun had just started rising over Zuria's glowing skyline. His room was quiet, but his mind was not. Today, he had to make the biggest decision of his life. He dressed in the soft silver robe the Velari had given him and stepped out onto the floating path outside his room. The air was fresh, with a soft scent of flowers unlike any found on Earth. Below, the city moved slowly, peaceful and full of energy. Waiting for him by the garden gate was Rinna. She gave a polite nod. "Did you sleep, human?" "A little," Tom said. "Too much on my mind." She turned and walked beside him. "The Queen asked that I show you more of our world today. She believes your choice must come from understanding, not pressure." "I appreciate that," Tom replied. They began their walk through the royal gardens and then into the public halls of learning. Rinna pointed out symbols on the walls, paintings, and glowing memory stones that told the history of Zuria. She explained how the Velari had survived great storms and wars, not through force, but through alliances. "We are not as strong alone as we are united," Rinna said softly. "That is why bonds matter so much to us." Tom nodded. "Earth also values alliances, but we don't seal them with marriage." Rinna smiled. "No two worlds are the same, but some truths are shared." As they walked deeper into the palace, they entered the Hall of Echoes, a quiet chamber filled with memory lights. Each floating orb held the voice and wisdom of past Velari leaders. One orb floated down and spoke in a soft, musical voice to bind worlds. "One must first unbind fear." Tom listened carefully. "Tell me, Rinna," he said after a moment, "do you think this bond between me and the Queen will really bring peace?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "It is not the marriage that will bring peace, Tom. It is the message it sends, that you are willing to become part of us, that she is willing to trust a human, that you both believe in a future beyond fear." They stepped outside again, where a few Velari citizens walked along the glowing paths. Many of them looked at Tom with curiosity. Some nodded, others simply stared. One young Velari child stepped forward shyly and offered Tom a small glowing crystal flower. He accepted it with a gentle smile. "For the bond," the child whispered. Tom felt something shift in his chest. Later that day, Tom returned to his room. A message had arrived from Earth. The ship's communication system had been linked to the palace for secure updates. The voice of Director Mina, Earth's top diplomat, played clearly in the air. "Tom, we received the Queen's proposal. You must understand, this is unusual, but the Council agrees with your judgment. If you believe this bond will help create peace, then we support you. Earth does not expect you to become something you are not, but if your heart says yes, then we will stand with you." Tom closed his eyes. His decision had grown heavier, not lighter. Everyone expected him to carry this choice. The Queen, the Velari people, even Earth. That evening, Queen Zarel invited him to the sky balcony, a quiet place where stars could be seen more clearly. She wore a robe of dark silk with silver symbols sewn into it. She looked less like a ruler and more like a woman preparing for something important. "Have you chosen?" she asked. Tom stepped forward, standing beside her. The stars above twinkled, and the world below was full of soft light. "I came here to speak," he said, "to ask for peace. I thought I would offer words, maybe ideas, but instead you offered something far greater." She waited, calm and still. "I don't understand everything about your world," Tom said, "but I've seen enough to know that you value truth, trust, honor, and your people believe in your decision." He paused. "I don't take this lightly. I'm not Valari. I am human, but I believe in peace. I believe in what this bond means to your people and to mine." Zarel turned to face him. "So?" she asked. Tom looked into her glowing golden eyes. "Yes, I accept your offer for peace, for trust, and for the future." A soft wind passed between them. Somewhere in the distance, music began to play. Zarel gave a rare smile. "Then tomorrow, we bond," she said. "You shall become part of Zuria's story, and I, part of Earth's." They stood together in the light of the stars, two beings from different worlds, now tied by a choice that could change the future. The next morning, Tom stood before a wide circle of Valari elders, nobles, and advisors in the open temple known as the Circle of Wings. A cool breeze passed through the air, lifting light petals from nearby trees. Tall stone spires stood all around, and the sky above was clear and blue. Queen Zarel stood at the center, wearing a crown made of crystal light. She looked calm, but serious. Tom wore a robe made of soft, star-colored cloth, a gift from the Valari tailors. It felt too royal for someone who still didn't feel like a leader. Zarel raised her hand, and silence fell over the temple. "Today," she spoke, "the human named Tom has chosen to accept the bond of stars. But before the bond is sealed, tradition must be honored." Tom looked at her, confused. Zarel continued, "He must complete 3 trials, tests not of battle, but of heart. If he passes, he shall stand as my equal in the eyes of our people." Tom took a step forward. "I accept." The crowd began to hum softly, not with voices, but with the quiet rustling of wings. A sign of respect, Rena appeared beside Tom. "I will guide you through each trial," she said gently. The first trial, the storm plainstorm, was taken to. The glass plains, a flat land where smooth crystals rose from the ground like frozen waves. "The air here was quiet, too quiet," Rena explained. "This trial is of endurance. You must survive the crystal storm for 1 night without shelter. If you endure it, the Valari will believe you are strong in spirit." Tom looked up. The sky was already changing color. Dark clouds were rolling in as the storm began. The wind howled and crystal dust flew across the plains like sharp sand. The air was filled with flashes of light. Small shards of glass rained down like snow. Tom covered his face with a scarf and sat between 2 tall crystal spikes for protection. He remembered his training, how to stay calm, how to breathe slow. The storm lasted all night. It was cold, loud, and painful, but Tom didn't give up. When the sun rose, the wind stopped. Rena returned with a soft smile. "You did not run. You did not hide. You endured," she said. The second trial, the puzzle of Mirrorstum, was next. Led to the Hall of Reflection, an ancient temple filled with glowing mirrors that moved on their own. The place was silent, yet it felt alive. Rena said, "This trial is of logic. You must solve the puzzle and find the true exit. Many paths will lie to you. Only the calm mind can see the truth." Tom stepped into the hall. Instantly, he saw a dozen reflections of himself moving in strange ways. Some turned right when he turned left, others smiled when he frowned. He began walking, testing paths. One mirror showed him Earth, another showed Zuria, but in ruins. Another showed the Queen fading into dust. He closed his eyes. "This is fear," he whispered. "Fear shows false paths." He remembered the Queen's words to bind worlds. One must first unbind fear. He looked again, this time with focus. The mirror showing a simple garden path had no tricks, no shadows. He stepped through it and found himself outside. The elders clapped softly. Zarel gave a proud nod. The third trial, the choice of sacrifice for the final test. Tom was taken to a quiet chamber filled with glowing orbs. Each orb showed something from Earth, his family, his home, the ocean he loved. Even a childhood tree he used to climb, Rena said, "This is the trial of heart, to live among us. You must give up something, not forever, but truly let go. With your own will, choose one memory or connection to place in the orb of parting." Tom walked slowly through the chamber. Each orb pulled at him, his father's old voice, his mother's smile, the music he used to play, the food from a street corner stall. He sat down in front of one orb showing his old apartment, with its messy table and his favorite chair. It wasn't fancy, but it was where he found comfort after long days. He touched the orb gently. "I let this go," he said, "so I can make room for something new." The orb faded slowly, and in its place, a small flower grew. Rena stepped forward. "The Velari will remember this. You gave not your pain, but your peace. That is rare." That evening, Tom stood once more in the circle of wings. The queen faced him, and behind her stood hundreds of Velari citizens. "The trials have been completed," she announced. "The human has proven himself worthy, not by force, but by truth. He understands our ways. He respects our bonds." She held out her hand. "Tom of Earth, will you join your path with mine? Not as ruler and subject, but as two who wish for peace?" Tom stepped forward. "Yes," he said simply. Soft light formed round their hands as they touched. The bond of stars had begun. The crowd opened their wings and released glowing dust into the air, creating a sky full of tiny stars. For the first time in many years, the Velari and humans both felt something stronger than fear. They felt hope. The sky dome hovered above the tallest tower in Zuria, held in place by beams of pure light. It was a round, open structure with a glass floor that showed the world far below and a clear ceiling that opened to the stars above. It was a place reserved only for the greatest ceremonies in Velari history. Today, it was prepared for a moment no one had seen before, the bonding of a human and a Velari queen. Tom stood quietly in the waiting chamber just outside the dome. His robe was woven from silver threads that shimmered softly with every movement. His hands were calm, though his heart was beating fast. He had faced storms, mirrors, and memories, but this, somehow, felt even bigger. Rena entered with a small smile. She was dressed in deep blue, a sign of honor and wisdom among the Velari. "You look ready," she said. Tom gave a half laugh. "I don't feel ready. That is normal," Rena replied. "Even the queen once told me she was not ready the first time she spoke before the council. But readiness does not mean having no fear. It means stepping forward even when fear is there." Tom nodded. "Thank you, Rena, for everything." She bowed slightly. "It has been an honor guiding you, Tom of Earth." Moments later, the royal guards led him into the sky dome. The place was filled with light. Hundreds of Velari hovered in the air around the structure, their wings glowing softly. A few human representatives had been flown in from Earth for the ceremony. They stood to one side, watching with curiosity and hope. In the center of the dome stood Queen Zarel. She wore a robe of starlight, glowing, flowing, and filled with patterns that moved like the sky itself. Her wings were open, shining with colors that changed as she moved. When she saw Tom, she stepped forward and held out her hand. He took it. The voice of the dome, an elder named Vesin, raised his arms. "We gather under the stars, between two skies and two worlds, to witness the bond of stars." The crowd became silent. This bond is not one of blood or war. It is not for power or gain. It is a promise, a choice, a bridge between worlds. "Do you both accept this bond?" Queen Zarel spoke first. "I do. I offer my trust, my voice, and my path to this union." Then Tom replied, "I do. I offer my respect, my promise, and my hope for peace." The elder nodded, then stepped forward. Together, Tom and Zarel stepped onto a glowing circle in the center of the floor. As they did, a ring of light rose around them, floating gently into the sky. A soft hum filled the air. Dozens of glowing butterflies, symbols of new beginnings, rose from the edge of the dome and danced above their heads. Zarel held out a small crystal stone. "Place your hand here," she said. Tom placed his hand beside hers. The stone glowed bright blue, then faded into their palms. A symbol appeared on each of their hands. A circle joined with a star. It was done. The crowd opened their wings and released a wave of sparkling light into the sky. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. Tom looked at Zarel. For the first time, she smiled fully. "You have done well, Tom," she said quietly. "Now, the work begins." After the ceremony, a celebration was held in the Gardens of Harmony. There was no loud music or dancing like on Earth. Instead, the Velari sang songs that floated through the air like wind chimes. Small creatures made of light danced around the trees. Food was served, a mix of soft fruits, glowing drinks, and carefully prepared earth dishes made by the human guests. Tom walked with Zarel through the garden. People stepped aside to bow or offer soft greetings in their own way. Many eyes were on them, some full of respect, some still unsure. "They will learn," Zarel said. "Peace is not given in one day, but this is a good beginning." Tom nodded. "Back on Earth, some people will take time to understand this bond, but I think they'll come around." "Let them watch," she said. "Let them see we do not fall apart. We grow stronger." A small group of young Velari approached, curious and smiling. One of them asked, "Human Tom, will you stay here forever now?" Tom knelt to their level. "Maybe not forever, but long enough to build something better between our worlds." They giggled and gave him a tiny glowing leaf, a child's gift of peace. Later in the evening, Tom stood alone near the moon pond, watching his reflection. This wasn't the life he had imagined. He had come to speak for peace. Instead, he had become part of a new history. He didn't feel like a hero. He still didn't fully understand the Velari, but he had chosen a path of connection, not separation, and that meant something. Zarel joined him once more. "You have walked far in a short time," she said. "I've had good help," he replied. She looked up at the stars. "Tomorrow, the council begins talks. With Earth, we will discuss trade, learning, and building new stations in space together. I want you beside me." Tom smiled. "Of course." Zarel looked at him. "This bond, it began as duty, but perhaps, in time, it will become more. Not love, maybe, but friendship, respect, something strong." Tom nodded. "That's enough for me." They stood side by side as the worlds began to shift, not through force or fear, but through trust. And in that quiet moment, under the stars, peace felt not like a dream, but like something real. Peace had started to grow between Earth and Zuria. It had only been a few days since the bond of stars, but things were already changing. Human and Velari teams were working together in the palace. Messages flowed between the two worlds. Science, language, and culture were shared like gifts. Tom sat beside Queen Zarel in the Grand Council Hall. Large windows showed the floating gardens outside. Members of both species were present, some in robes, others in light armor. "We suggest building a shared space station," said one human diplomat. "It can be a symbol of unity." Zarel nodded. "We accept. But the station must orbit between our worlds, not above one or the other." Tom smiled. This was working. The talks were respectful. The future looked bright. But as the meeting ended, and people began to leave, one of Zarel's royal guards stepped close and whispered something in her ear. Zarel's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Tom asked quietly. "There has been an energy breach in the western sky sector," Zarel replied. "A powerful gravity signal was detected. Not natural." Tom stood up. "A weapon?" Zarel didn't answer. Instead, she gave quick orders. Guards moved. The council was cleared. She turned to Tom. "Come with me." Now, in the Queen's War Chamber, a large round table showed a glowing map of Zuria's skies. One area blinked red. "This location is restricted airspace," Zarel explained. "It holds a vault of old technology from our war days. It should be locked and sealed." Tom stared at the blinking light. "So someone broke in?" Zarel nodded. "Yes, and I fear who it may be." She touched the screen. A name appeared. "Vorak." "Who's that?" Tom asked. "My cousin," Zarel said coldly. "He once led our armies, But he did not agree with peace. He believed strength should rule, not unity. When I became queen, he left quietly. Now see, he did not disappear. He was planning. Tom's face grew serious. You think he wants to stop the peace talks? Yes, Zarel replied. And if he has entered the sky vault, then he has taken something dangerous. What kind of weapon? Tom asked. Zarel hesitated. A gravity core. It was once used to pull enemy ships from the sky. If charged, it could pull down our city towers or your Earth ships. Tom's heart sank. He could destroy everything we've built. She gave a sharp nod. Exactly. Later that night, Tom met with Rena in the gardens. Why didn't Zarel tell the council about Vorik? He asked. Rena looked concerned. Because if the people know the Queen's own cousin is behind this, trust may break. The bond between your worlds is still new. Some may believe it was a trap all along. Tom understood. One mistake now could ruin everything. Can we stop him? He asked. Yes, Rena said. But not with an army. If we attack, he will strike first. Tom thought for a moment. Then we need to talk to him. Rena looked surprised. Talk to Vorik. He is proud, dangerous, and full of anger. Tom stood up. That's what people once said about Zuria and Earth. But we proved them wrong. Rena gave a small smile. Very well. But you will not go alone. The next morning, a small team flew across the western skies in a quiet hovercraft. Inside were Tom, Rena, and two of the Queen's fastest guards. They wore no royal symbols, only simple gear. This was not a mission of war. It was a mission of peace. They reached the edge of the storm cliffs. Sharp black rocks floating above a deep energy pit. In the center stood a tower made of stone and metal, the old sky vault. They landed on a hidden ledge and approached the tower by foot. Strange machines hummed inside. As they stepped through the cracked entrance. A voice echoed from the shadows. You shouldn't be here. Tom stopped. A tall Valari stepped out, wearing battle armor. His wings were dark green, and his eyes were colder than ice. Vorik, Rena said firmly. You have broken sacred laws. Vorik looked at her, then at Tom. So, this is the human who wears the Queen's mark. Tom stepped forward. I came to speak, not to fight. Vorik laughed. That's what weak leaders say before losing their world. I'm not weak, Tom replied calmly. But I do believe peace is better than war. Vorik stepped closer. Your kind walks softly now. But what about later? When you've studied our planet? When your ships grow stronger? You think I don't see the danger? Tom looked at him without fear. Yes, humans can be dangerous. So can Valari. But peace is not about pretending danger doesn't exist. It's about choosing trust instead of fear. Vorik narrowed his eyes. You expect me to believe your words? No, Tom said. I expect you to believe your own queen. She offered peace, not just to Earth, but to her own people. You betray that. Vorik paused. His hand hovered near the control crystal on the gravity core. If I fire this, he said slowly, your bond will be broken. Earth will pull back. The Queen will lose her power. Tom didn't move, and your people will suffer. More fear, more pain. You'll be remembered not as a protector, but as the one who destroyed hope. There was silence. Then, finally, Vorik stepped back. He turned off the crystal and dropped it into Rena's hand. Go, he said. Before I change my mind. Back in the palace, Zarel waited. When Tom returned, she looked at him with quiet relief. You faced him, she said. Tom nodded. He wanted to be heard. I gave him that. He didn't destroy anything. You did more than stop him. Zarel said, you proved our bond was not just for show. You protected it with your own voice. Tom smiled. Peace is built word by word. She stepped closer, and now it has survived its first storm. They looked out over the city, still floating, still whole, but stronger than ever. Weeks passed since the day Tom faced Vorik in the sky vault. Peace between Earth and Zuria had not only survived, it had grown stronger. The shared space station between the two worlds was already under construction, orbiting in the quiet region between both planets. Teams of human engineers and Valari architects worked side by side. sharing tools, knowledge, and ideas. In the heart of Zuria's capital, Tom now walked the royal halls not just as a guest, but as a partner, a symbol of unity. Still, he felt strange sometimes. Though respected, he was different. Many Velari still looked at him with curiosity. Some whispered behind wings, unsure of a human sharing the bond with their queen. But Tom didn't mind. He had never expected to become famous. He had come for peace and found something much bigger. One quiet morning, he stood on the sky balcony, watching ships rise toward the stars. He wore a simple robe, no crown, no armor, just himself. Queen Zarel joined him. "The skies are busy today," she said. Tom nodded. "It used to be just us out there. Now we share it." She looked at him. "Some on Earth still question the bond. Some here still wonder why I chose a human." "I don't blame them," Tom said. "Even I didn't understand at first." Zarel gave a small smile. "And now," Tom thought for a moment, "now, I see that peace is not about being the same. It's about walking the same path, even if our steps look different." Zarel looked out toward the rising sun. "There's one more thing I must ask of you." Tom turned to her. "Another trial." She shook her head. "A journey together." That evening, Tom and Zarel flew aboard a quiet cruiser to a faraway place, the Valley of First Light, a sacred area hidden between floating cliffs and glowing rivers. No buildings, no machines. Only nature. It was here, long ago, that the first Velari learned to fly. And here, Zarel said, was where every ruler must one day come to speak to the land and renew their bond to the world. The cruiser landed gently, and the two walked side by side through tall crystal grass. Strange birds flew above, weaving trails of golden light in the sky. Zarel stopped near a wide, clear lake. "In our tradition," she said softly, "a leader must reflect before a new age begins." Tom nodded. "You mean, after the bond, this is your next step?" "Yes," she said, "and I want you to share it, not just as my bonded one, but as a voice of Earth." Tom stepped beside her. They looked down into the water. Their reflections shimmered, human and Velari, side by side. Zarel began to speak, not just to Tom, but to the land itself. "I offer my path not for control, but for connection. I offer my wings not to rule, but to rise with others. I offer my bond not to hold power, but to build peace." Then she turned to Tom. "And what do you offer?" Tom stepped forward. He felt no fear, only quiet respect. "I offer my voice not to command, but to listen. I offer my presence not as a visitor, but as a partner. I offer my heart not to take, but to grow." The lake shimmered. A soft wind moved through the valley. Above them, a beam of sunlight broke through the clouds and touched the water. Zarel closed her eyes. "It is done. We begin a new chapter." Back at the palace, celebrations began again. But this time, they were not grand, no music, no large crowds. Instead, citizens lit floating lights and sent them into the sky, each one a small wish for the future. Tom watched from a tower balcony. Rena joined him, holding a light of her own. "You have changed this world," she said. Tom shook his head. "No, I just reminded it what it could be." She smiled. "That's what change truly is." Tom looked out at the sky, filled with glowing lights rising like stars. "Do you think peace will last?" he asked. Rena looked thoughtful. "Peace is like a flame, small at first, but if protected, it can light the whole world." Months later, Tom stood on the new space station, her eyes on one, as it opened for both humans and Velari. He walked through the wide halls, past humans in Earth uniforms and Velari gliding with open wings. Children from both worlds played in the central garden, laughing and sharing fruit from both planets. Scientists discussed shared projects. Artists showed their paintings and songs. Zarel appeared on a wide screen, addressing both worlds. "We began with mistrust. We stepped forward in fear. But together, we build trust. Together, we chose a bond over a battle." Tom stepped beside her. "And this is only the beginning. Peace is not a final step. It is the road we walk every day." Side by side, cheers rose across the station and down on both planets. Later that night, Tom sat alone in a quiet room, writing a message to Earth. To the people of Earth. Peace with Zuria did not begin with ships or science. It began with a choice, a strange one, yes, a bold one. But sometimes, the most unlikely paths lead to the greatest futures. I did not come here to marry a queen. I came to speak. But I learned that speaking is not enough. You must also act, stand firm. And sometimes, say yes to the impossible. We are not just the worlds anymore. We are a new path. Together, Tombak and Zuria, Queen Zarel walked through the garden under a quiet sky. She paused by the moon pond and looked up. Tom joined her. She said nothing. He said nothing. They didn't need to. The stars above them, shared by both Earth and Zuria, said everything. The end.